Well, it's funny. It was spoken over my life back in, I think, the year 2000. So I don't think it's something that I ever really wanted to do. I always knew I had influence, right, from when I was a small child, and I could lead people, I could get people to follow me. But as far as starting a church, that was really never on my radar. I remember a prophet guy came to a church I was at, and he just picked me out of the crowd and said, "Hey, I don't know you, I don't know nothing about you, but God showed me you're going to speak to people, and people are going to come from all around to hear you speak." I didn't know if I was going to be like a public speaker or a church, a pastor. I didn't really know. But it's funny because from that point on, like, it'd be the weirdest thing, man. If a prophet or somebody came to the church, they would always pick me out and say, and it was very consistent in what they said, as far as me, people wanted to hear me speak, and I had influence. And it wasn't until, I'd say, 2018 is when I realized that this was what I was supposed to do, right? I had been working a few jobs here and there. I was making decent money, but I was always empty on the inside. And I was always told that you'll never be fulfilled until you're in your purpose. And, so I had opportunity to speak a few times and minister the gospel a few times, and that's what really fulfilled me. So, we got ready to do the church. We were going, looking for a church in 2018. And then I lost my 16-year-old daughter to gun violence. And so at that point, I didn't really want to do church anymore. I was like, well, if this is what it costs, I don't want to do it. So about a year later, Pastor David, my pastor, came to me and said, "Hey, man, you got to do this. This is something that God's called you to do." So I didn't know how I was going to go about doing it. Thought about launching and just doing it on my own. So then I meet a friend of mine, Ricky Brown, who had launched a great church in Chicago called New Creation. And he was like, "Hey, man, you need to go through this process. You don't want to launch it on your own. The way church is being done now, in order for it to be successful, you pretty much want to get with an organization to help you launch this thing." And so it was new for me. I didn't know much about church planting organizations from my background. And so, he said something to me that still sticks with me to this day. He said, "If they tell you no, you'll still learn more about yourself through the process." And so I said, well, all right. I was a little hesitant. And it's funny, so when we started the process with Stadia, that's who we chose to go with, Stadia. And once he told me that, it made me look into other organizations, and I was like, I think Stadia was the best fit for me and my family. They were pretty nosy, right? They was asking a lot of personal questions, and I just wasn't used to that. They wanted to know about my marriage. They wanted to know about my finances. They wanted to know about my credit. You name it. We had to meet with a marriage psychiatrist. The whole 9 yards. And so, going into it, I didn't really know what to expect. I can't really tell y'all the whole process because we have to sign a little disclosure, right? But we won't give away everything. But it was about 6 months of assessments, very detailed assessments. They wanted to know how we lead, how we think, how am I with my children, and how do I handle finances, and what's my temperament, and all these other things they want to know. And so after that, they decided that they felt like me and my wife was a good candidate to launch a church. And so we had to fly to Houston. I took my good friend, Jonathan Gillian, with me. And we went to Houston for the final assessment. And it was tough. It was something that I had never in my life had to go through. It was very tough. Part of me didn't think we would make it, I'll be honest with you. I didn't see many people of color there. And so I thought that was, you know, as crazy as it may sound, I thought it was a strike against me. But I was just myself. I remember calling my friend Ricky and like, man, I don't know, man. And he was like, just be yourself. You be yourself, you'll be fine. Went through the process. They gave us a yes. They had two conditions. One of the conditions was we had to move to Tampa, which we knew that, right? Can't plant a church and not be in the city. And the other condition was they wanted me to do a 6-month residency with a church in Tampa. And so the funny thing is, before we got to the final assessment, I had already came to Tampa and met Pastor Tommy. And he was gracious, very gracious to meet with me, and we just clicked. It was weird, man. It was like we had known each other like all our lives or something. It was really crazy, but yeah, we clicked, and he was like, yeah, man, just when you get through the assessment, hit me back, let me know. So get through the assessment, I emailed him, he never responded, right? So I was like, he probably don't, he's busy, he probably won't be bothered. Or what it was, I think he went on vacation or something. So he finally responded back, and he was like, send me what your expectations are. And so I sent him a list of about 10 things that I knew that, according to the assessment, and some things that I needed to work on to make sure that I was a better pastor. So I sent him that, and he said, man, I think we can work around that. We can work together. So I wound up coming to Crossover. It was supposed to be for 6 months. Get here, the pandemic hits. So I wound up being here for a full year at Crossover. And here's the thing a lot of people don't know. Whenever God calls you to do something great, it's gonna cause you to sacrifice something. A lot of people don't know that I would drive from Orlando to Tampa 3 to 4 days out of the week. I'd be stuck in traffic, you name it. And I would have people say, man, you crazy, there's no way I would do that. But my thing was, what I was getting here at Crossover, it was worth it for me. I got to sit with the staff. I got to preach a few times, speak. I got a chance to lead small groups. And then the best thing is, I got the chance for Pastor Tommy to just pour into me every day that I was here. Teach me the city. Teach me some things that I wasn't taught before, that I know I needed to know in order to pastor. So those type of things made it worth the drive for me. Well, Tampa is a unique city, especially what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a multicultural church. Me being African American, I found out when I got over here that hadn't really been done in the city of Tampa. So it's something, we're launching out, trying to break some new ground here. Launching a church, man, it's been a lot more tedious than I thought, right? You talk to church planners, and people always say, you got to be crazy to be a church planner. And I'm like, I never thought of myself being crazy, but then now I see, as we get closer to our launch date, it's like, yeah, you got to be crazy, right? Because it's long hours. I don't sleep much. I'm trying to make sure that everything is done the right way. Due to the COVID, we wasn't really able to build the team that we wanted because we couldn't build community. And so that kind of set us back a little bit. So it's been tough, but I know that God knew what was going to happen when He sent us to Tampa. And so we're very optimistic about what God's going to do. He's been sending people my way, and we just hopefully, prayerfully, we can continue to build off that. Wow, the future for the Resurrection Church, man, I would say this. First of all, it's bright. It's bright. The vision that God has given us to impact the city where He's called us to serve. Again, it's been blocked a little bit from COVID. We wanted to adopt a school. That's something that we really want to do. We're really passionate about that. So we've done some research, and we found out that there's 3 schools in that district, elementary schools, and they all have very low reading levels. And so My thing was, hey, let's adopt a school, figure out how we can eradicate that literacy so these kids will have a better future. Those are one of the things that we will do. Like I said, it's been kind of hard because you can't get in contact with the kids. They don't want you around the kids because of the COVID. And so, but I always look at it like this, man. Stuff like that gives us time, gives us more time to plan, right? So when that door does open and they say, okay, well, we'll let the church come in, that's something that we'll be prepared for. One of the other things that we want to do, there's an organization that we want to start called Daddy's Home, where we take incarcerated fathers and reunite them with their children. That's something that I'm very passionate about. It's something that I feel that would make the community better, right? I'm not so into building a church. I'm into building a community. If I build a community, the church will take care of itself. And so that's our heart. Like I said, we're very optimistic. We feel like the future is going to be amazing for Resurrection Church. When you look at all the stuff that we've been through, all the struggles, you know, me losing my daughter, then a year and a half later, me losing my mom, right? A lot of people would have just thrown in the towel. But we knew what God has called us to do, and we decided to just keep trucking along. And I think God will honor that, the fact that we didn't give up, the fact that we didn't throw in the towel. It's bigger than us. The mandate on our church is bigger than us.